Creative Katie, Karen Burchill, Index Card of Day 2017. We are on card 53. We're in the home stretch. This one's called Every Day is Caturday. I am off prompt. Links to specialized products used in the video can be found in the description box for your convenience. Hit the subscribe button, and if you're on the laptop, hit the bell and select the option to get notified as soon as I upload a new video. So today I am going to get back to using my Distress Crayons. I love these. They are, when you want to do something quick, easy, simple, minimum cleanup, these really fit the bill. It's smooth, they're not waxy. When I first started, I was really intrigued with the gelatos. I saw a lot of videos with them, and I absolutely had to have them. And I do have some of them. And they are probably one of the most unused products in my stash. So I thought long and hard about getting these because is it going to be more of the same? But they are different. So here I am putting it onto a gessoed surface, and I'm just rubbing it and blending it with my finger. Tim Holtz recommends that you do small sections at a time and blend them out. They will dry. You can reapply more color on it and then get them to do that, or to blend afterwards, or use water. I could blend this with water on my finger or baby wipe if I wanted a softer color, but I wanted some fairly dark colors. So my goal here is simply to get the color covering the card. I know I'm going to be doing a couple of different techniques on top of it, so I'm not too worried about it looking patchy at this stage of the game, because I know that the other techniques are going to alter that patchiness. If you've applied color and want to add more color, I suggest that you take a little time, give it a blast of the heat tool, or let it dry, and then you'll have more success adding layers of color. I find that it just needs that little extra time. When they're dry, they are not waxy. They feel dry. So here I am going to use the technique of subtraction. I am going to I'm going to add pattern and visual texture by removing the product through a stencil. I could remove a little bit or a lot like I've done here, pretty much taking it right down to white. This works because it's gessoed. And I'm going to put a link to the Mixed Media Technique Tag video where I do that technique with a variety of color mediums, because you can use it with a lot of different mediums, including acrylic paint. You just have to tweak it. So here I'm using Dilutions paints through the same stencil. I just kind of moved it with a felt applicator. I love this stencil. It's called Crackle. It's something that I found in the dollar store. I haven't seen it since, but I did find a similar one, and I'll put a link to that. So this background's kind of funky, and all these lines going this way and that way. It reminded me of Tim Holtz's Crazy Cats. They've got all these hard lines, and the way he's drawn them. So I decided I'm going to put a couple cats on there, and I found the quote, "Every day is Caturday." And I kind of fussy cut around the font. Now again, this is a quote. I've had this quote in my stash for a while, because when I go and I print off a page of quotes, I just add anything that I've come across on Pinterest or looked at. I might throw it on there, and over time I use them. Because I had my Distress Crayons out, I am just using them to color these cats. Now admittedly, it would be easier to have colored them before I cut them out, but again, this was something they were cut out. I guess I did some fussy cutting one evening or something, and they were just sitting in my stash already cut out. So I'm just applying the crayon and blending with my finger. Every once in a while I might get some water on a paintbrush and just kind of get it into the finer areas. I wanted to add, some highlights and some stripes and shading. So I decided to get my Inktense. Well, I try the crayons, and that doesn't work directly onto the Distress crayons. Maybe if I had dried it first, it would have. But I just made a puddle with the Inktense block, and I'm just painting the stripes there. And I'm also going around and just edging to get rid of all the white from it being cut out on the edge. So here I'm going with a reddish brown color and kind of go crazy with this, and it ends up being a little too matchy-matchy with the other one. The color, there isn't enough variation. So I do go back with more yellow to brighten that up, because I really wanted more yellow. And then I think I make this cat a lot more orange, again, to have that variation. But you can see that the Inktense block on top of the Distress crayon, they all work together really well. There is no funny thing that happens when you mix them. So I'm just going to glue these crazy cats down. He lost his paw there, so I had to go back to the stamp to see how exactly that was there. And even when I put the gel medium on top of the Inktense block and on the Distress crayon, unless I rub really hard, I'm not going to reactivate it. And I love that about this product. So I grab my woodless charcoal pencil, which is a new addition to my stash, and I love this. Now, I'm not sure if I had gel medium that wasn't dry or it was the Distress crayon, but this did not go on as easily as it usually does. And I have a feeling it had something to do with gel medium that may have been wet right around the cat, so I should have maybe taken time to dry it, because as you'll see in a bit, when I go around the outside edge with the charcoal crayon pencil, that works much better. But I persist, and I get some nice shading. Again, the charcoal pencil, if you want to keep it simple, this works really well. You see here, it didn't have any problem getting on there, so I have a feeling it was the gel medium. Right, there's a patch of it as well. These charcoal pencils I got at Michael's, but you can get them online, and I'll put a link to them. I've found some that look fairly similar to what I have. And I grab my liner pen, I'm not sure which one this is, and just adding back some of the dark lines. And I'm going really, really sketchy. I'm not being too careful about going exactly on what he has drawn before. I like that sketchy look. So thank you so much for joining me for this tutorial. There are a few more ICAD tutorials coming. The month is almost up, and please enjoy the close-ups of the finished ICAD.